Git guides, Git pull and merge conflicts. And one of the purposes of using Git is to make collaboration between different developers easier. And when we are working in environments where multiple developers are working on the same files, you may run into merge conflicts. And some of these conflicts will happen when you pull from a specific branch and other developers have made updates into the code base that you're pulling from. All right, let's head on over to GitHub to start. To begin, on GitHub, I'm going to make a new repository called Conflict Resolution. And I'm going to make sure to check off Add README file. And the README file is what we're going to use to create a conflict and resolve that conflict. So after making the repository, I'm going to get the link to this repository and clone it in my computer. Let's head on over to the terminal. Now, over here in my terminal, I will type git clone, pasting in the URL. Now I'm going to cd into the repository folder and open it up in my code editor. And I wanted to show you a little tip here. VS Code has a built-in shell command that you may need to install. With that installation, you will be able to type code space period and open up VS Code in the current directory. Speaking of which, it's time to head on over to VS Code. Now we're going to intentionally create a merge conflict. So on the screen, I have the README file open. We're going to begin by typing in a subheading. This is a subheading created locally. And then we're going to add another line. All of this content added to the README file has been added from my local Git repository. Now go ahead and save the file. And before we commit any changes, let's go to the remote repository and do the same. So what we're showing you right now is for demonstration purposes. You do not want to edit your code on GitHub. This is not considered to be a good practice at all. GitHub is not meant to be a code editor. We are only doing this for demonstration purposes. So now I have this open, and what I'm going to add is another subheading. This is a subheading created remotely on GitHub. And now I'm going to add another line. All of this content added to the README file has been added from my remote GitHub repository. Now I'm going to scroll down a little bit. And with GitHub, when you make changes, there's not a save button. You actually have to commit the changes. So the changes will be saved and a commit will occur. So in here, I will type updated README file on GitHub and then click on commit changes. And this is done. Now I need to go back to VS Code and commit my changes locally. All right, I'm back over at VS Code. Now my terminal's open and I'm going to go ahead and commit these changes. First, before we can commit the changes, we need to add the changes to the staging area. So I will type git add capital A. Now I've staged my changes. I need to commit my changes with the message git commit -m, and I need to wrap my commit message in quotes. Quote, updated readme.md locally, close quote. And I will go ahead and hit enter, and I've now committed my changes. Now it's time to create the conflict. So I've cleared out my terminal and my screen for this demonstration. And what I'm going to do is pull from the main branch the changes I did remotely down to my local repository. So I will type git pull origin main. And now in VS Code, 4 options have come up: accept current change, accept incoming change, accept both changes, compare changes. And right now, hypothetically, the current change is what I've done locally, and I believe that is what should be in the README file. So I'm going to go ahead and click on accept current change. Now, after clicking on this, just like with everything else with GitHub, I need to stage the changes and commit them. So first I'm going to save the file. And then I'm going to type git add -a. And then for my commit, I'm going to type git commit -m fix conflict in README. Now this is done, and I have a couple options here. I can push this up to the main branch now, which I will, or I can continue working and deal with it later. So I'm going to go ahead and type git push origin main. And the assumption here, hypothetically, is that my code changes are what is required for this current project. So I'm going to go ahead and push up those changes. And then let's head on over to GitHub. And we can see that the changes are currently there. And this is how we resolve Git conflicts when you have to git pull. Thanks for watching and happy coding.